We are back and we are live. It's 9 a.m. on Monday morning, and it's a big day for multiple reasons, and none of them have to do with the Guardians. The Guardians are depressing right now, Zach. After their hot streak, they've lost 5 of 7 to bad teams. But I've got two things that I'm very excited about this morning. Number one is that it was 14 years ago today that I moved to Cleveland.
Yeah, really.
It's my 14th anniversary. It was supposed to be yesterday. We left New Jersey on the 17th. We were going to drive all the way and stay at a hotel before moving into our house that we were staying at the time. But there was a lot of construction, and we ended up spending a night in Youngstown because we just couldn't make the last hour and a half of the trip. But 14 years ago today, I showed up in Lakewood, and the rest is history. And now I'm not going anywhere. You people are stuck with me for the rest of time.
It's too bad so that was the summer of 2011, but
Yeah.
you missed like the good 5 minutes of that Guardian season when they were 30-15 and none of it made sense. And Ezekiel Carrera was winning games with squeeze bunts, and it was just insane.
It's funny that you say that because I knew I was coming here for a few months before we went on the air. It was probably about 4 or 5 months now. I can't remember exactly, but until that point, I wasn't watching the Indians at the time on a regular basis, and that year I had to make a point. I was already watching them before, we moved here. And so, I remember thinking at the beginning of the year, oh, they're going to suck. And by the time we get there, they're going to be terrible. It's going to be over. It's going to be all about football. Little did I know that it's all about football all the time here. At the time, I didn't really fully understand that. But it ended up being the case anyway, despite the good start, because obviously they collapsed the rest of that season.
And how full circle we've come, because going into August 18th in 2011, Cleveland was 3 games above 500 and kind of a pseudo contender, a couple games out. And where are we today? Going into August 18th, Cleveland is 3 games above 500 and kind of a pseudo contender, a couple games out. There you go.
Yeah, that's perfect. It really is. And that means it's time for the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. A week ago, and we last did a show 10 days ago since I was away last week. At the time, we were feeling much better about the Guardians. They'd been playing, pretty good baseball for 3 weeks or so, maybe a little longer than that. But this week, it just all went away. A homestand, especially, it's funny because they had been playing terribly right before the break, and they were going to play the Astros. And you're like, this misery is going to continue. And instead, that's when the turnaround happened. They swept the Astros. And now in reverse, going into this week, you're like, man, the team's playing great. You got the Marlins. Okay, the Marlins are playing decent baseball, but they're not very good. And then the Braves, who are a disaster. You split 4 with the Marlins and then get swept.
They took 2 or 3.
Oh, what the hell am I talking about?
2 or 3.
Look at that.
You were in a different country. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's a bad job out of me. Okay, they lost 3 out of 4, including the last White Sox game. Can I throw that in there? Sure. And then obviously the 3-game sweep at the hands of the Braves was just hideous. And just so the terrible weekend, and that leads them in the spot that you said where they're a pseudo playoff contender and 3 games over 500. And yes, they're not out of it, but it's hard to believe they're going to make the playoffs, especially after what happened this weekend.
Yeah, you can't get swept this time of year. I have done my best to try not to get, it's all the cliches a baseball player says, try not to get too high or too low, because we tend to be our most passionate, and understandably so, when the team is either at rock bottom or when the team is reaching new heights, right?
Sure.
And I don't think they were ever as bad as it looked during the 10-game skid. I think that was an opportunity for us to examine certain things that are wrong in the organization. But I also don't think, when they're 22-8, I think at one point in this great stretch, and that is great. Like their true talent lies somewhere in between. And just
Yeah.
because they were 22-8 doesn't mean that some of the ugly baseball we saw in the first 3+ months of the season wasn't going to pop up at some point here, the rest of the way. And so I just think this kind of is who they are. They're just kind of an average to a tick
Hmm.
above average team. And Atlanta just looked better. And then the instances where they didn't necessarily look like they were head and shoulders better than Cleveland, Cleveland couldn't capitalize, right? I mean, Sunday's game was an abomination,
Yeah.
sloppy, and didn't capitalize on mistakes and ridiculously stupid bunts. And yeah, just it's what we saw during that 10-game losing streak where there were games where they just got beat. Yeah, but there was a lot of just like, you could have had this one and you didn't. So like that series at Wrigley, like the Cubs looked like the better team, of course, but like for the Guardians to not get one of those three when they were in
Yeah.
them,
Yep.
um,
So
that a lot of that was
yeah.
self-inflicted. So I just think like baseball season has so many ebbs and flows, and it really is a roller coaster at times. And a lot of the things we said when they were at their bottom still carry weight. Like you look at this lineup and even during the good stretch, like you've had Bo Naylor and Gabe Arias and Carlos Santana. Those are your guys hitting fifth most nights. Like there's still issues. You scored 1 run the first 2 games of this Atlanta series, right? Um, even I guess I would ask you, Bo, like what's this team good at? What is what's their formula for winning? What is their like when we get to the end of the season, what are you going to point back to and say like that's what made this team good? When they were winning games, this is what they did. Because I'm still struggling to quite figure that out. Because it's not the lineup, like it's a
Yeah.
couple guys in the lineup.
Yeah.
It's not the starting rotation. It's like one, maybe 2 guys in the starting rotation.
Right.
And even the bullpen's had its warts. So I just this is a team that's going to continue, in my view, to have ups and downs like this for the rest of the season.
Yeah. It's an impossible question to answer because there is no clear. uh, There are parts of the team that are stronger than others, obviously, but there's nothing they're outstanding at, right? And that's kind of the antithesis of what we've seen in the past. They've at least had a great bullpen, which they did last year. They've had a great starting pitching in previous seasons. They've been elite defensively or elite base running. And the thing is, like this year, some of the things that they've been really strong at in past years are just not there. Like their defense is good, but they're not fantastic. Their base running, they're usually one of the best teams in the league. It's just not the same. Their base stealing is not what it once was, right? Their bullpen's good, but it's not special this year. Their rotation's good at times, but like even Gavin Williams, right? The last time, like Gavin Williams goes and takes a no-hitter into the 9th inning. And here it is. He's put it's the inconsistency is behind him. And then against the Marlins, he can't get 3 innings. He gives up 4 runs. I mean, at 2 homers and can't even get into the past the 4th inning. So that was a huge disappointment. And Slade Ciccone, who's shown a lot of promise, last 2 starts he's gotten destroyed. That's been disappointing. Obviously, Tanner Bybee's been up and down all year. So I think ultimately you're right. Yes, they're not a horrible team. They're not the team that lost 10 in a row. Most teams aren't, outside of like the Rockies. And they're not a team that they had that great stretch and that's that. They're not going to do that again. They're a mediocre team and they're going to finish somewhere between 3 games under and 3 games over 500, or if you want to stretch it out a little, between 5 under and 5 over, somewhere in that range. And ultimately that will very likely not be enough to make the playoffs. It would be hard to have much faith in this team, even if they did make the playoffs. At the moment, they were right there, a half game behind the Yankees, and Yankees swept their weekend series. The Guardians got swept, so now the Guardians are 3.5 back of the Yankees and 4 back of Boston and Seattle, 2 teams who have didn't have a good weekend. And they're only a half game up on Kansas City and 2 up on Texas. I don't. None of those teams are playing particularly well, although the Royals have played better lately.
They're going to play all these teams coming up too. That's the other thing.
True.
You've
Yeah.
got a series in Texas later this week. You've got the Rays and the Mariners coming to town. Then you've got trips to Boston and Tampa. I mean, you're going to face all the teams right around you, right in front of
Yeah.
you. And that's, look, I am not one to say, oh, well, they just beat up on a soft part of the schedule because they went into Houston, they went into New York, and they swept the Astros and Mets. Like I give them a ton of credit for how they turned it around. And like personally, I'm a little disappointed because I spent all this time the last couple of weeks digging into how they turned it around and how all of this went down. I mean, they've been through some shit, man. Like there's been a lot of adversity this year, and I give them a ton of credit for turning this around because they absolutely could have just gone in the tank and lost
100%.
95 games. And we saw them like, all right, so your first full season in Cleveland Bowl was 2012, and that team was kind of like this, where they just didn't play great baseball, but they were around 500 all year. And then in August, and conveniently, I know there was some unrest in the clubhouse that summer when they didn't make any additions at the trade deadline. The year before in 11, they traded for Ubaldo Jimenez, and it was like, all right, this is the start of a window. We think we've got something here. And then 2012, they were average. And I mean, it's not a surprise looking back. You had like Shelly Duncan hitting fourth, but
poor Shelly Duncan.
No trades were made. I think they added like Lars Anderson and Brent Lillibridge.
Yeah.
And then they went 5-24 in August, and Manny Acta got fired, and it was that could have happened. Like this could have been that.
Absolutely.
Where you lose 10 in a row, and then you get Ortiz and Clase, and you trade Bieber, and there was a lot of tension about whether they were going to trade Quan, and a lot of his teammates were. There was like a huge collective exhale on August 1st when they walked into the clubhouse, and you've seen it. Like the way they played the first 2 weeks of August was the way they played the last 3 weeks of July, and it was impressive. But that's also evaluating that again. Like there's going to be this, there's going to be that, and you got to just figure out what the team is like on average. And on average, this team is about average.
Yeah. It's certainly true. They go to Arizona tonight to start a series. 60 if you look at they're 63-60, so you got just 39 games left in the season.
How many do you think they need to end up at? Do you think they need like 88, 89?
I would say yes. Somewhere I have not been a believer in the Yankees all season. I'm not a huge believer in the Red Sox either. So I think 88 could get it done. So for them to win 88, they got to go 25-14?
Yeah.
Even if I knock it down to 86, which is probably not enough, but that's 23-16. I just would be surprised if they and you can say, well, they just played that well before this weekend, and that's true. But I like we've been talking about, I just don't think over the long haul they're good enough to play that well over that long a period of time. Hopefully they'll prove me wrong. Hopefully they'll prove you wrong and be better than mediocre, because we want them to make the playoffs. But ultimately, they're short on talent. That's what it comes down to. They're short on talent. There's just not enough quality bats in the lineup. Let's talk about some of the young guys, by the way. We haven't had a chance to talk about. Obviously, CJ Kafis finally got the call up. What do you think of what you've seen of him so far?
I don't know. He looks fine. It's tough. I mean, it's been a tiny sample size. Yep. Right field is not his natural position. He's new out there, so I refuse to offer any evaluation on that. Like, I assume he's going to be playing first base next season. So, the bat, like, I like that they've given him opportunities against lefties. It's funny to me. Historically, he's never had issues against lefties in the minors. So I'm glad that they are recognizing that and letting him play. It's just, what does Kyle Manzardo have to do to get that opportunity? It's insane to me. So, you go into next season with Kafis and Manzardo as your first base and DH tandem, and I'd be thrilled about that. There's no spot for this in our shows. this is not a name we'd normally mention. And have you seen anything? Ralphie Velasquez? Have you seen anything about him?
I mean, I know who he is, but I have
Okay.
no. What about him?
So it's just like this is not a conversation we need to drag out here, but he's a 20-year-old prospect. He was their first round pick in 2023.
Yeah.
And he was always just like big bat. That's it.
Yeah.
He was originally a catcher, and they've moved him to first base. He occasionally plays left, but he'll wind up at first base. And he had a kind of he was okay last year in A ball, and he started
Yeah.
this year at A ball again. And for the first few months, he was not anything special. He turned 20 in like late May, so that's
Right.
also he's
Yeah.
super young.
Right.
He started hitting well like in late June, and they bumped him up to Akron last week. And first, I just want to mention that since late June, his slash line is 368, 448, 715.
Oh my God.
So, okay, this guy's
Yeah.
like figured something out, right? And they bumped him up to AA. And mind you, he just turned 20. He is the
Yeah.
6th youngest player in AA.
Okay.
Here are his first 5 games in AA. 1 for 4 with a triple and a walk, 2 for 4 with a double, 3 for 4 with 2 homers, a double, and a walk, 3 for 5 with a homer, a double, and a walk, 3 for 5 with a homer, a double, and a walk.
Jeez.
Yeah, so
Oh my God.
So since they got promoted to AA, he's hitting 545, 615, 1364. His OPS is 2000. And I only bring that up because for forever this was the pitching factory, and like they couldn't develop hitters, and I still don't know if they can develop hitters. Like we're gonna find that out
No, we don't
once
know.
and for all in the next like year.
Yeah.
Because all their top prospects are Bazzana, DeLauder, like these guys are all hitters. Cooper Ingle is in AAA now, and I just find it interesting with Ralphie Velasquez is this first baseman who is just destroying everything in his sights right now. And I would imagine he's 20. Like I'm not jumping to conclusions here. I just find it interesting. Manzardo, this is his first full season in the bigs.
Yeah.
He's a first base DH. CJ Kafis, this is his first taste of the big leagues. First base DH, like maybe right field long term, but we'll see. I think DeLauder winds up there anyway if he's ever healthy. I think Juan Brito might end up there. And now you got Ralphie Velasquez, who's look again, like he's a year or two away, but it's just like you're gonna have log jams, and this is where the one thing this organization has just stopped doing in recent years is trading prospects for proven big league talent. And forever it was like, oh, why don't they trade some pitchers and get some hitters in here? And now it might end up being the opposite. You might need to trade some hitters and get some pitching in here. To help make up for Luis Ortiz's absence, Emmanuel Clase's absence.
Or maybe you're trading from that first base glut to get a center fielder or a catcher.
Sure. Or that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. They have, if you want to point to something, some positive development or some takeaway from this season, it could be that like you have all these hitters on the cusp and you need it because the lineup is not good enough. It hasn't been good enough all season. And it's too bad that Bazzana and DeLauder and Burrito have spent most of this year injured, or else any or all of them could be up by now. Because you're going to have a lot of position players to sift through here. And, by the time Ralphie Velasquez is a major league hitter producing, by the time Bazzana is a capable guy you want hitting at the top of your order in the big leagues, like how old's Jose Ramirez going to be?
Yeah.
Where's Stephen Kwan going to be?
Right. I mean, see, I think next year, we've said this a million times, but like next year might be the last best chance with Kwan and Ramirez, because let's say everything goes right with these young guys. And let's say by May or June, you've got Manzardo and Kafis at first and DH. You've got Bazzana at second. You've got DeLauder and right. You've got Kwan and left. You've got Ramirez at third. Let's say, whatever, Rocchio or Arias. All right, at short. Okay, you still don't have a center fielder and a catcher. Maybe you get aggressive and make a move for one of those positions, and maybe we're looking at it differently. To me, you talk about this year, Kyle Manzardo's OPS just went up to 800. That's pretty impressive.
And about a week ago, it was like 840.
Well, but but then it went back down under 800, but now it's back to 800.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like I think he had a quiet weekend, but
He did.
he's absolute, like he's done everything you could have asked for,
Yeah.
offensively.
Right. And obviously there's a lot of work that needs to happen at first base, but his development, he's had a really good season for a guy whose first full year in the big leagues with all the failures they've had offensively. He's had a really good season. I think,
Mm-hmm.
Some people are going to say, well, but he's only batting 230. I don't care about yes, his batting average isn't great. His on-base percentage isn't great. His defense isn't great. We could focus on yes, there are some negatives in his game, but the power is there. The production is there. Like he's putting up the extra base hits. The slugging is there, and in a big way, and for a team that needs it desperately.
Here's the thing: if you're worried about his batting average, if that's the lens you view baseball in still in 2025, okay.
Right.
The league batting average is 246. So let's pretend we're still in 1995,
right?
And you think a good hitter hits like 285 or better, right? So pretend that it's 1995, but Kyle Manzardo is actually hitting 275.
Right.
That's
You're fine with that.
what this is.
Especially exactly. There's no complaints about a slugger hitting 275.
But he's hitting a bunch of home runs. He's drawing some walks,
and he's almost 100 points above the average OPS. So, and you look at this lineup. I mean, the average OPS in the league is, I think, 715 or something like that. The Guardians as a team have a 675 OPS. That's terrible. They only have 3 players above average OPS. Of course, Ramirez and Kwan, but Manzardo's the only other one. And most of their guys are significantly under average. By the way, speaking of which, how about that game Miles Straw had Saturday? 2 home runs.
He has more home runs than Nolan Jones.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's wild. All right, Zach, we got to take a break here for a second when we'll get to the fan comments. We'll get to FanDuel in just a second. But first, folks, I got to talk to you about BetterHelp. Let's get to BetterHelp here because we could all use some more help at times. There's no doubt about that. Some people more than others. But with BetterHelp, it feels like you need some advice, right? Cold plunges, gratitude journals, screen detoxes. But how do you know what actually works for you? Well, BetterHelp. With so much information online about mental health and wellness, it can be overwhelming. That's where talking to a licensed therapist through BetterHelp can make all the difference. You get real, personalized guidance instead of just guessing based on something you saw on social media. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, serving more than 5 million people. So talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners will get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked on. All right, let's get locked on with FanDuel. Zach, what do you got for us there?
Yeah, we're on the doorstep here of what I think is the best time in the sports calendar. You've got baseball pennant races, you've got college football around the corner, the NFL. It's all here and it's in full swing. So whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Well, I don't know about you, but I'll just open my app every day and just look at all the possibilities. I mean, you've got props, you've got win totals, you've got Super Bowl, college football playoffs. It's all right there. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get started.
Good job out of you, Zach. By the way, good job, Adam. Can I promote my my fall ball kids who did a great job yesterday?
Yeah. Which one of them hit your windshield?
So, well, it wasn't a kid on my team; it was a kid on another team. I'm the commissioner of the league, so I actually on last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, I was just going to check on my team had played in the morning, so I was going to check on our afternoon game, see if everything was going okay. I was just stopping at the field for 5 minutes. That's when my windshield took the hit. But anyway, yesterday, it was a big game so my team is the River Bandits, right? That I coach. And last year we won the championship. We pulled an upset over the undefeated Ghost Pirates. We beat them in the championship. Yeah, this is all the names of the teams are either related to Cleveland sports history or Rocky River.
Okay.
So we have the Buckeyes, the Blues, the Ghost Pirates. My team is the River Bandits. We have the River Dogs, the Spiders, and the Blues. Did I say the Blues? I don't remember. Anyway, so yesterday was the rematch of the championship, which we beat them, and they wanted their revenge. Okay, and they were 3-0 going into the game. We were 2-0. Every team plays a doubleheader once during the season. They've already played their doubleheader. That's why they got more wins than us. And they had outscored their opponents by about 45 runs in the first 3 games. So there was a lot of talk that nobody could defeat their team. Well, not so fast. Not so fast. The River Bandits, my squad, not only did we win, we came within 1 run of mercy ruling them. A 12-3 victory for the River Bandits. Revenge would not be had. Now, maybe we'll see them again in the championship. Who knows? But shout out to one of the kids on my team is new to the league this year. He's actually we have a lot of kids now from. It started as a league in Rocky River, but unlike Little League where you have to be from Rocky River, when we started this league last year, I wanted it to be kids from wherever. You didn't have to be from Rocky River to play. So we got a lot of kids this year from Lakewood and Bay Village and Westlake to join the league. And it was tricky making the teams because, you got to grade all these. Anyway, real quick. So shout out to this kid, Owen Miller, who is from Bay Village. And Owen I put him on the hill yesterday, and holy moly, he went 5 innings. He had 10 strikeouts. He didn't even. So we do what we do in Little League in football because we don't want to, unlike a lot of coaches for kids this age, we don't want to destroy these kids' arms. So we have a pitch limit, right? Like you can't pitch at our age. 85 pitches is the max. And he didn't even hit his pitch limit. Like I didn't have to take him out of the game, but I was like, okay, 5 innings, that's enough. And we had kind of opened up the score in the last inning. 5 innings, 10 Ks, gave up 3 hits. Gave up 3 runs, but only 1 was earned. We made 1. My kids played great. Shout out to every kid on my team because they all contributed. We made a couple of credible plays on defense. Our hitting was great. My son got out of his slump. He had been 0 for 5 to start the season. He got a triple in his first at bat off one of the best pitchers in the league. And then he got a single later in the game. So it was a good day for the River Bandits. Now improved to 3-0.
I'm glad there's an Owen Miller that actually meets expectations. That's one where
Good
I just looked him up, and
yeah,
former Guardian Owen Miller is playing for the Rockies AAA affiliate, and not even hitting in Albuquerque.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to be. I just thought he was going to be a solid hitter.
And
never
came. He was with the Brewers. Was he with the Brewers last year?
He was with the Brewers the last couple of years, but in the major, 629 OPS in 1,000 major league plate appearances.
Yeah,
I just remember that one season he was hitting like 420 in AAA for like 6 weeks, and felt like they took forever to call him up. And then when they did, he just never got going.
That's why AAA can sometimes be like preseason football. Like it's not real till you do it in the big, in the majors.
Yeah, we've gone 29 minutes and we haven't mentioned Dylan Gabriel or Shadur Sanders.
I know. Well, that won't last another show, so let's let it last here. All right, let's get some comments from the fans. John says Bunting killed me. All the pressure was in Atlanta. Vote says it was Kwan's decision. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. So what did you think of that situation?
Just terrible, and it's. I have had arguments with. I feel like Ken Carmen and I have argued about this for 10 years, and There is. I won't say 100% of the time bunting is idiotic. There's, if it's like Austin Hedges and you're down one and it's first and second, nobody out, fine. But there's that's your second best hitter. There are so many ways Stephen Kwan can move the runners without
It was
bunting.
absurd.
And it's just and you're facing a guy who couldn't find the strike zone. It was terrible.
Well, and also, like, I understand you don't know how it's going to turn out, but when you sacrifice in that situation too, you also lead to a real potential of Jose Ramirez being intentionally walked. It doesn't make any sense. He's your second or third, best hitter. You're right. And
if they had a different lineup and you had like Francisco Lindor hitting second,
yeah, right, different,
maybe. But
maybe even then, I'm still not doing it.
What is the percent chance that the sacrifice bunt works out exactly as hoped? Like, it's not 100%, obviously, since he popped out. And then what is the percent chance that Kwan just swinging away is going to at least move the runners?
Exactly.
Like, is it that drastic of a difference?
No.
And so it's
beyond stupid. Ken's lost in the old school if he's arguing about this. There's maybe 1 out of 20 circumstances where it makes sense. There's almost no situations where I'm like, yeah, it's a smart sacrifice bunt there. I don't understand it. I told you I was in Toronto, watched the Cubs and Blue Jays, and the Cubs did a sacrifice bunt in a situation, and I was like, this is dumb. Why are you giving up outs here? I said it, and then it didn't work. And, even if it had worked, okay, but like sometimes it's going to pan out. But
even if it does, I mean, they squandered so many opportunities yesterday.
Yeah.
Manzardo getting doubled off third base. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Don't
give up outs.
Nah, so like Bo Naylor had 4 hits and Daniel Schneemann had a great game and
they still lost.
So
Wayne says, don't fool yourself. If this team wins 20 in a row, they'll fall flat on their face in the playoffs. B Skrills, the Guardians have not been looking good, especially against National League teams. B Skrills, Slade should have went down to AAA, not Joey. I don't agree with that. Do you think he should go down to AAA?
Well, I think it's interesting. Cantillo didn't deserve a demotion.
No, he didn't either. I just wouldn't send Slade down either.
But I don't think that's about Cantillo. I think that's about Parker Messick, and I think there's a legitimate shot you see him Wednesday make his major league debut. Cantillo, like his last 5 starts, he's got 16 walks in 25 innings. And so their message to him is, your stuff's good. You just got to throw strikes. But in those 25 innings, his ERA is 3.55. So it's like he's, so we're talking to the farm director yesterday and we asked straight up, so why can't he work on that at the major league level since he's still getting outs?
Right.
He's not giving up a ton, or he gave up 1 run the other night. 5 and whatever. Or we were talking to the assistant GM, and the assistant GM did a very nice job of completely deflecting the question, which led me to believe that it's not about Cantillo. They want to see Parker Messick for a few starts.
Right.
So maybe he'll come up Wednesday. Because they didn't have to do that. Like, they need a starter for Wednesday now. Right. And you had one who was maybe not throwing enough strikes, but he's been pitching better than Slade Ciccone has, right? So it's I don't think that's about Cantillo. I think that's about them wanting to see Messick for a few starts before John Means is ready.
Brendan says probably it for playoff, sadly. Pitching regressing and hitting being hit and miss. Once again, probably closer to reality than the last few weeks. 83 and 79 finish coming. Synth Commander, trading Savali for a first baseman DH has been a good move for at least 2 teams.
Because the Brewers, they got Andrew Vaughn, who's like the MVP.
The guy's been unbelievable. The Brewers had won. They lost. Their winning streak ended yesterday. They had been like a month ago. The Cubs had a 4-game lead in the Central. Now it's 8 games for the Brewers. It was 9-8. They are playing a 5-game series. The rare 5-game series at Wrigley Field.
Doubleheader today, right?
Yep, doubleheader today. Diesel, the team is so mid and boring. Bringing up all the young guys and let them start all September. Get them their first MLB experience. I agree. I want DeLauder up in September. I want Bazzana up in September. I do not want to see any. I know neither is likely, but
Well,
that's what I want.
it's the injury stuff. DeLauder's like at least 3-4 weeks away. Burrito's got, I think he's another 3. So like, and then the AAA schedule goes for I think another month. But yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. Like, just let them get like 5 games. Like Bo Naylor, they called up at the end of 22. He played like
Right.
he had like 8 at bats.
Why not do that with
Just
DeLauder?
something, yeah.
Give him 10 games at the end of the season. Zach Diesel says this will be the final one. Zach, what's a recent obscure jersey you have seen?
I've got the list somewhere. I had these aren't great. I just like over the last week I had Yonder Alonso and Danny Salazar I saw.
Oh wow.
Those aren't very good.
Yonder Alonso is good. Not Danny Salazar is not that obscure. But speaking of which, I'm so pissed. That just reminded me when I was in Toronto, I was taking note mentally of obscure Blue Jays jerseys, and I meant to write them down, and I never did. They were surprised. This is not obscure because he was a really good pitcher for them for a couple of years. But I was surprised how many Aaron Sanchez jerseys I saw.
He had like one awesome year. Remember that?
Yeah.
Connor Pilkington, and one of my favorites this year we've had was a Cliff Lee jersey, but it was when he wore number 65, which he wore for 11 starts in his first year.
That's a good one.
And that led me to think of maybe my next frontier here is like a collection of jerseys from guys. When you get called up, you often don't choose your number. Like Jose Ramirez wore 62 for a couple weeks when he got called up, right? And so it would be like the greatest players and the numbers you never knew they wore.
Yeah. I like that. By the way, did you know Connor Pilkington is pitching out of the Nats pen?
In the major leagues?
Yeah.
In 2025?
Yes.
In this economy?
Yes, I'm going to double check to make sure I'm not making that up, but I'm pretty sure.
No, you're right. He pitched an inning yesterday, gave up 2 runs, hit 2 batters.
What's his he's got a 6.17 ERA and 11 2/3. So I'm guessing he won't be in the big leagues for long, but 13 strikeouts and 11 2/3. Not bad. But anyway, he's been in the big leagues for a couple of weeks. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Thanks to, nobody else. That's it. Thanks to Zach for joining me. Make sure you're with us again. Next week will be on Monday. Once the football season starts, we may go to a different day. We'll let you know. That's going to do it for now. We'll talk to you next time on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.